service. It's a pleasure to have you, a pleasure to be with you right in your very living room. Tonight, we have such a special evening tonight. Our Wednesday night services are a place where we can have real conversations about real topics and hopefully learn something and grow in our walk with God, grow in our maturity. And tonight, I'm excited. If you want to know a little bit more about who we are as a church and want to find out what we're about, we've got some people that are actually live, ready to chat with you, either via our YouTube space or our Facebook page. Please interact. Tonight, during the conversation that we're going to be having, you also have the opportunity to ask questions, so please do so. You can post a question right on one of those media channels, or you can also post a question on the link that we've provided if you have that link already, or it's at the bottom of your Facebook page. But tonight, it's a very special night. If you are a parent that has ever at any point in time actually been worried about the amount of time that your child spends on social media or on the internet or in front of a digital screen, or perhaps you're a parent who during this pandemic, has had a child doing homeschooling for the last probably 9 months and have seen a change in your child's behavior, or maybe you're a parent that's struggling to know how to control the amount of time that your child is spending in front of a computer or in front of a digital screen, then can I tell you that tonight is just for you. We're going to be learning so much, and I'm so excited for the guests that we have here tonight. With me in the room tonight, I actually have two amazing mums who are both really interested in this topic. In the thick of it with kids, we actually have Suzanne with us. Suzanne is a mother right now of a toddler, a 2.5-year-old toddler, and then another one on the way. And I'm sure she's very interested in this topic, and she has some questions that she would like to ask our guests tonight. So we look forward to hearing from you, Suzanne. We also have with us Lucy, who is also a mother, but of a teenager, so in a little bit of a tweenager, but also obviously very much in the thick of this issue of the digital world. So welcome, thank you so much, and we look forward to your question as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you our special guest, our special speaker, who is actually joining us live from Sri Lanka. Yes, he's live from Sri Lanka via Zoom. And it's my pleasure and my privilege to welcome him tonight in having some great conversations with him. He's such an interesting person. He's got such an interesting background. And I want to read to you his bio because I don't want to get this wrong, because there's so much in here. I want to read to you some of the things that he has done, okay? His name is Dr. Lalith Mendis. And Dr. Lalith has actually researched the effects of digital overuse on children and youth, and he has also developed therapies to reverse the inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. Dr. Lalith is the founding director of the Empathetic Learning Center. He has worked in the Faculty of Medicine in Colombo as the head of the Department of Pharmacology in an area called Kelania, if I got that right. He also hosts the monthly digital forum at his own center, and he's delivered lectures and conducted seminars on this theme of the digital space all across schools and corporates in Colombo. He has lectured in Germany, in Malaysia, in the UK, in Australia. He's the author of 5 books on this topic. One of his books is called Right Learning and Recovering Childhood. Another one is Children and Our Heritage, and Let the Children Come to Me, and they're all in their second print. His latest book is called Parenting Heart and Brain in an Age of Digital Domination. If that's not enough, he and his wife are also pastors, and they've ministered all across the UK, Germany, USA, Canada, Singapore, Australia, and many other nations. It is my privilege tonight to welcome to you Dr. Lalith Mendis. Welcome tonight. It is so good to have you.
Thank you for that gracious, generous introduction. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you. And in just reading your background and your biography, it is so full. It is so interesting. Do you mind maybe just telling us a little bit about how you got interested in this area, because you have such a vast background?
Yes, I was head of department of a state medical head of department of pharmacology in a state medical faculty. So my research has been in the area of migraine, irritable bowel syndrome, which has to do with serotonin, then Parkinsonism, epilepsy, and many other drugs. But about 2013-14, when I was giving talks to school on science and other things on morality, teachers kept asking me, "Doctor, why are kids so difficult to control or have in class? We are exhausted because they are so hyperactive." So this has struck me, so I checked on it, thought on it. Then we all know attention deficit hyperactivity disorder has been defined from 1990, but we were not satisfied with the standard, definitions that had got into it. So the professor of pediatrics of Colombo Medical Faculty at that time was a friend of mine. I had a discussion with him. Then I began to research. As you know, internet is a minefield of good ideas, bad ideas, way out ideas. But I had to go back to my training in neurophysiology, and I came to the conclusion that the digital screen, the pixel screen, is having an effect on the neurochemicals and the neuronal behavior via the retina, of course. So I came to the conclusion that what goes through our retina into the brain is a very strong stimulation, and that's the reason for the hyperactivity, impulsivity, and the inattention. These are the three criteria on which you diagnose attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. I came to the conclusion that 70% of what gets diagnosed as ADHD is because of too much digital activity. Strangely, some of it starts with the mother carrying the baby and getting into digital overplus. So we developed empathic learning therapy and empathic motor therapy without putting kids on drugs for this inattention. Empathic learning therapy was conceptualized and pioneered by Dr. Daniel Amen, that's his name. But empathic motor therapy is our innovation. We got onto it about 6 years ago. Harvard got into it about 2 years ago, and they call it FIT Kids, FITKIDS. Anyway, we call it empathic motor therapy. So that's how got interested in this, that children are being disturbed. They can't sit in one place and study. They are disturbed. They disturb other children in class. So this is how I got into it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, that's great. Obviously, Dr. Lalith, we live in a world that is more and more reliant every year or every day, it seems, on computers. It seems like, we rely on them more, we're in front of them more. I'm not sure what the case is in Sri Lanka, but in Victoria, because of COVID, our children have been homeschooling in front of a computer screen over Zoom for most of the school year, probably for the past 9 months. And so is this just a reality that we need to live with and just, go on with our lives as this is part of it? Or, are there real concerns? And I think you talked about some already, but can you talk to us about the things that you've found that are concerning and that we need to understand that are going to impact our kids if we continue down this road?
Yes, there are two sections of medical concern. One is the subject I am specialized on, which is the effect of the pixel screen on neuronal behavior and neurochemical arrangements in the brain, which affects curriculum, career choices, and character. Besides that, there's another field about electromagnetic radiation of the waves according to the amount of kilohertz that goes into 3G, 4G or 5G. So that's a different medical area. I have only read about it. So there are medical effects on the brain of wearing low quality earphones. So it is safer to just listen to the screen than putting on low quality earphone. Now there are very high quality but high end, highly priced earphones which will not conduct the same measure of megahertz into kilohertz into your child's brain. That is a different danger, but my specialty and what I have researched on is the effect of the pixel screen on the neuronal behavior and the neurochemical behavior. So danger is this, that increasingly the child will reduce his attention span. That is, a child who is 8 years should be able to sit and listen to the teacher or sit and study for herself for 30 minutes. But after the age of 12, your study span should be 40 to 45 minutes. The attention span decreases, attention depth gets shallow. So when the child is studying it, child thinks she got it, she doesn't get it. Increasingly her attention grasp has got shallow, because that's the way the pixel screen works, not for collation, connection and deep concentration. Whatever the program that goes on in the pixel screen, the pixels themselves and the blue light that emanates from the screen has an adverse effect on the collation learning procedure, besides on other things. So that child's attention goes down, and then the child gets hyperkinetic and impulsive. I better explain impulsivity first. He will run to a place and not know that he must stop it. If it's a toddler whom you have put on the screen, which you should not, before the age of 3, I will do it under the laws, that intrinsically, intuitively, a toddler has a sense, I can't go down this step. He'll go to the step and you'll see them coming back. I can't. So they have quite a reliable sense of peril, how much I can do, how much I can't do, speed at which I should go at something. So they break their own speed. But the child digitized loses that sense completely and is prone to more injury, because the child has lost his internal gauge. I believe it's a gift of God in his design, that internal gauge of the speed at which he can move. He is gone, and he is impulsive. Impulsivity contributes to inattention, and this is why they get hyperactive, which means they can't concentrate on one thing at a time. Just 30 seconds they get to the next thing, 30 seconds they get to the next thing, because even at a young age, when parents put children on screen, or at a more adult age they do the screen themselves, they don't play the screen, screen plays them. That's the effect of the pixel screen. So if your digital device is an old desktop where the LCD screen is in front and the LCE screen is behind, then the child gets digitized less. If it's a pixel screen where the PPI, pixels per inch, is less, child gets digitized less. So for any long-term work, you must use a non-smart screen. You get laptops still with non-smart screen. You get desktops with...
So you're introducing this word digitized, that our children have become digitized, and I find that so interesting.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that your research has found that when a child is digitized, meaning that you are looking at a smart screen, a smart device.
Yes.
You're saying that leads towards inattention, so their attention span is lower.
Yes.
You're also saying that your research has found that the depth of their ability to think and their ability to learn subjects is more shallow.
Yes.
And you're saying that they also become impulsive in their choices, in their decisions.
Correct.
And I find that so interesting, so intriguing. And I'm just wondering, in your research, what is the link between a screen and these effects? What is that link?
Yes. So any child works with, when the retina is stimulating, we work with our prefrontal cortex. All of us work with our prefrontal cortex, where the conceptual tracks are. We are supposed to do initiation, navigation, end conclusion, and successful reward, appreciating I did well, or saying I need to improve, I need to do better. So when the child is on salience, that is my slide number 8, the slide number 8 graphic. Child is on salience, that is work to a point. Dopamine is working for salience. Salience is focus. Salience is focus. Work to a point. So he goes on doing that. And this pattern that is designed into us is called the default mode network of thought, DMN. So let's say an 8-year-old child will work through for 25 minutes and look back for 5 minutes. That look back, check back is done by serotonin for improvement. How can I improve this? Did I do it okay? Then collation, connection, and a little futuristic thought. How do I do this is going to come into the child. So dopamine works initially for 25 minutes, and serotonin works for 5 minutes for check back and improvement. When the child is passing 12, 13 and entering adolescence, then the child will be able to think through and work through for 40 minutes, and the serotonin check back about 10-15 minutes. That's how the hour is made. That is called default mode network. Dopamine working for salience, serotonin working for satiety. Did I do it well? How do I do it well? When the child is on the pixel screen, the pixel screen effect is to stimulate the dopamine tracks more than necessary. It's a dopaminergic effect. So the dopamine levels don't come down. In that graphic in slide number 8, what you see are two curves. Those are called physiological curves. You go up and come down. So dopamine must go up and come down in about 35-40 minutes. Then serotonin tracks take over. It's a marvelous design for check back. So the check back is not only for curriculum, it's a check back on character. How did I do it? Did I do it right? Is that check back process instilled, programmed into us? Now, if we go on the screen, the dopamine also has receptors. DA1 is physiological dopamine, which says do and let go. Then we have DA2 receptors, dopamine 2, which says keep doing, keep doing, keep doing. So when a soldier is in a foxhole, DA2 takes over. When a child is on the screen for more than 40 minutes, DA2 takes over and says keep doing, keep doing, keep doing the same thing. Then then the neurons move from unidirectional firing to multidirectional firing. The physiological state is, which is called homeostasis, is unidirectional firing. When the child is getting digitized, which is a stressed mode, the neurons move into multidirectional firing. Then your memory is getting rammed up, your memory is getting affected, and your working memory is getting scrambled. Child will not remember anything of what he has studied when he's in this mode. That's a long talk. I have one more thing to say. So the child is now shifting from executive, empathic, thought out, good for me, good for my future, this is what my parents expect, this is what I look for, initiate, navigation, conclude this well. He shifts from that. This is called top-down regulation. He automatically shifts into bottom-up regulation, where the screen is playing him. The kinesthesia of the screen, acoustics of the screen, the visual effect of the screen is getting into him, and now screen says he's doing, screen says he's doing, which is called bottom-up regulation, driven through the amygdala, hypothalamus and hippocampus. That's the peril mode. That's a survival mode. That is there in us in order to respond if we start slipping on a banana skin, which will happen in Sri Lankan roads. I don't know whether it happens in Australian roads. You slip on something suddenly and the body will adjust itself to get back to normalcy. So that survival mode is useful for a very limited period of time. Then you get back into executive, empathic mode, which is reflective. Other one is reactive. This is empathy. Other one is dyspathy. So the children who are on the screen for a long time are in dyspathy. They are in fight, flight and fright, fight everything. They are rude and they are reckless, and they are not assessing how much they are doing. They have lost, I performed well or I didn't perform. They are not in that mood. They are in the mode of next fight, next thrill. That is called so bottom-up mode.
So it's not just academic consequences that we're talking about. We're also talking about very real social consequences to a child's behavior and their ability to interact with other children or with other adults. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that is right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that work that you've done in your center and maybe some of the things that you've seen with some of the kids that you work with in your center?
Yeah. Generally, if the older is a boy, he gets very offensive, hostile at home, and ill-treats a sister. They come very charged up. They have lost that sense of nicety. Actually, Proverbs 3 naught gives a good description from verse 12 onwards, that they pitch their eyes high and they go for more and more. They are never satisfied, and they get easily angered, easily disappointed, easily frustrated, because dopamine is working and serotonin does not get a chance to come in. There are other medical consequences like abdominal migraine. Then if you do this after 6 p.m., melatonin gets disturbed and your sleep gets disturbed. What makes you brilliant is not merely what you study during the day, how you sleep in the night. So that is very important both for academia curriculum and for character and choices. How you sleep, how much you sleep.
So do you mind expanding a little bit on this? You're talking about, being digitized and the time of the day that we allow our kids to look at screens. Can you expand on that and how it impacts our sleep?
Yeah. Shall I shift to my 5 laws, which gives a good background? Slide number 5.
If you like, yeah, that might, not a problem. I think we've got the slides up there. Is that your slide number 5 or?
Slide number 5. So I begin saying, please don't give the screen at all to a child under the age of 3. That is medical recommendation by the American Pediatric Association. No screen at all before the age of 3. If you give the screen before the age of 3, child's speech scrambles. It is God's gift that a child can pick up 2 languages with phonemes and grammar. Listening to parents and siblings, that's how you learn language. Before the age of 3, a child can learn 2 languages. That ability is not there to learn languages after the age of 3. So when a child has been put on the screen, by the time the child comes to age, the child is speaking like a parrot what the child hears. So children can speak like parrot from memory, which is not language formation. So when a child is digitized before the age of 3, child is speaking, but by the time child is going to school 5, 6, learning language and trying to form sentences, child cannot form words for the right description, because now parrot talking is no more available. Child's language is scrambled. I have seen many children, about 30% of the kids that come to me are at the age of 6 to 7. When school or parents or both discover they cannot speak, they get angry. So there's a plethora of speech therapists. Problem is the screen. They get angry that they can't express themselves. Often they hit mom, because children have an intuitive thing, mom should make it safe. It's a God thing. So mom makes it safe for the inside and for the now. Dad gives the next step and next stretch, confidence, competence to go beyond the boundary. Mother makes it safe inside the boundary daily. So when children find there are daily things they can't do, they automatically refer to the mom as if mom was the problem. That's not necessarily true. Dad might have been the problem, or both might have been, or you did not know, you were ignorant, you gave the child the screen too much. The problem of the language arises at the age of 6. So that is law number 1.
Until then that you see the effects. It's not until that age that you see the effects.
Yes, because the child speaks as he hears.
Wow.
Till the age of 5.5.
I think that's such an important thing, Doctor, for our hearers and our church members that are listening. You know, I can say to you that I'm as guilty as anyone. If you were to go to a restaurant or a cafe here in Melbourne, a lot of times you will find, you know, younger kids on their phone as a way of their parents give them the phone maybe as a way so that they can enjoy their meal or they can have a conversation with the person that they're having a coffee with. And we go towards the easiest thing to do, which is give them a screen to keep them entertained. But you're suggesting that the research shows that we don't realize the impacts that we're having, and it's not until our kids hit the age of 5 or 6 that we're going to see the effects that it's had on them.
That's the thing. On the language formation and paucity of vocabulary, you will not realize it till the child is 6. That is why there are so many speech therapists trying to correct what child should have got naturally from absorbing speech from parents and siblings, of course. Yes. So that is law number 1. Shall I get to law number 2?
Yes, please. So just to reiterate, law number 1, don't give a child a screen before the age of 3.
Yes. This should be part of medical prescription. Every family physician should be saying this.
Wow, fantastic. Please go ahead.
Second one, no screen during feed time, because eating is the most valuable resource a child has up till about the age of 5 when he starts proper schooling. So child's brain is designed to absorb the best and the brightest during feed time. Whatever you do at feed time, oxytocin is high and the brain functions very well, which means if you give the screen at feed time, it becomes an unbreakable habit. Whatever you do at feed time, they will remember lifelong. Prayers, Bible reading, good manners, eat your vegetables, eat your fruit, start it early. Drink your milk, take your egg, you must eat fish, start it early. Because it's at feed time they learn lifelong habits, including a proper eating time, parents sitting together, if possible at least for breakfast and dinner. That feed time, the food time is time inviolate. It is sacred time. Not only that food is a gift of God, that you have a sufficient table to be eat with thanksgiving, giving and gratitude. Not only because of that, because the child is learning best while he is feeding. So to give the screen at feed time is actually child abuse. That's a strong word. I use it in all my lectures. You can't make the screen the nanny at any time, but if you do it at feed time, you have made an addict, because feed time, feeding is a good addiction, isn't it? What I mean is 3 times a day we sit and eat. Why? Because our parents said 3 times a day sit and eat. So food time is the time that develops habits, develop good habits. So parents should not be criticizing other adults during feed time, because feed time is the best time to teach good things, curriculum, career, character, choices. That is law number 2.
That's great.
Yeah.
But just before
yes.
you go on to law number 3,
yes,
I just want to remind our hearers, our listeners, that we are ready to take any questions. So if you would like to ask a question, please do so through either our Facebook or YouTube channel, and we will do our very best to get your questions to Dr. Lalith. So we're talking about the 5 laws of what not to do for your kids to be digitized. Law number 3, Dr. Lalith.
Yes, so please write down your questions with each section, otherwise you will forget. Law number 3 is no cartoons or digital games after 6 p.m. What I mean is no fast activity on the screen, because the brain response to the screen depends on how much pixels are utilized in a given program. And the other thing is, as I told you at the beginning, the pixels per inch intensity, PPI. All smartphones were 247, and when you pass the all smartphones were less than 300. When you pass the 247 PPI, they said we passed.
Talk a little bit about that, Doctor, because I know that you touched on it a little bit at the start, but I think maybe it's worthwhile clarifying. When you talk about screen, that's saying screen time or screen,
yeah.
And now you talk about pixel and PPI. So what do you classify as, a digitized screen? What do you classify? What's the minimum? Like, can we watch, is it okay for the kids to watch the old televisions but not the new LCD monitors? What do you classify?
Yeah, the LCE, that is where the pixel screens are. So all iPads, tabs, smartphones now are, the smart screen, you touch it, touch screen is all smart. That's the one that has the most effect via the retina on the neuronal tracts and neurochemistry. So desktops, some laptops still are not smart. They have a LCD screen in front of the LED screen. So when the LED screen is playing on the smartphones, then you talk about the PPI, pixels per inch. So now iPad or a tab or a smartphone would be close upon 1000 PPI. Some time ago they said we passed the retinal limit, because the retina has a cone and rod distribution of 247 cells per inch, and our sunlight, when it is reflected, it is 247, the photon scatter is 247 per inch. So one who made the sunlight also made the retina is my conclusion. So we best remember, best study with studying under sunlight. Of course, that is not practically feasible. What I mean is you can do that during the daytime, and when you have to study on the screen, if you can still find an old laptop which does not have a LED screen, desktops which don't have LED screens, that's the way to study long, even in Zoom sessions. With your smart devices, do work minimally as possible when you have to look at it. That's the distinction I'm making. Is that enough explanation?
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you.
So law number 3 is no digitizing activity on your screen or on your eyes after 6 p.m. So after 6 p.m. brain secretes melatonin from the pineal gland. Melatonin does a tremendous role on the retina. Retina is protected by melatonin. Also, melatonin acts on a certain group of cells called chromaffin cells that are present in certain vital parts of the brain. For good brain function, melatonin secretion must not be interfered with. So 4K screen, 8K screen, and any other fast digitizing activity will depress melatonin secretion, which means your sleep will be not physiological, and the other work done by the melatonin in the brain during the night season will not happen also. What do I mean by fast digitizing activity? Now, if you are on PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, or Excel sheet or whatever, that is just regular work. But if you start browsing on a screen, then you can't, then you get digitized. That is what I mean by fast digital activity. So after 6 p.m. you have to take cognizance of what kind of digital activity you are into. Then if it is a smart screen, before sleep ideally you must have a 2-hour break. So if you plan to sleep at 10:30, if you are to get your proper physiological sleep, which means NREM, non-rapid eye movements, no dreaming at that time, REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, you start this cycle at about 12:30 in the night, and good physiological sleep that makes you brain bright and brain healthy needs 3 to 4 cycles of these two go through. Initially your dreams will be unpleasant, then you get pleasant dreams. If you are waking up at 4:35 in the morning with unpleasant dreams, there is a disturbance in your sleep, disturbance in your life. So kids and adults must get this dream life and sleep time right. If you are on a digitizing activity with the screen before sleep, your sleep will not be normal. You are sleeping, but it's a restless sleep. It's not the physiological sleep. It will affect your memory. It will affect your curriculum and how you wake up in the morning. You will not be able to recall. Such children get up in the morning and say can't go to school, teacher is bad, useless school. Such adults also wake up in the morning grouchy, thinking bad things about God and the country and maybe the boss and hopefully not the spouse. So that's yeah. So that's about keeping your life after 6 p.m. I'm not saying digital free, I am saying don't let that digital intensity interfere with your sleep. So high-end schools in UK, where there are boarding schools, they confiscate the digital gadget and do not allow children to take the digital gadget to the dorm. That is the Queen's England. I don't know how Australia will react to that. So this is about treating your melatonin well. I may add to that, it is good to get a good sundown, remove the curtains, come out of LED lights. If you can see sundown for 15 minutes, it's a good trigger for melatonin to start working. Similarly, in the morning, if you can see sunrise, it's a good trigger for your chronobiological system to get into daytime. Did I make myself clear on it?
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, I think I would say, I know we're talking about kids, but I think what you're saying there also is relevant to adults. You know, the screen time and the lack of sleep is also relevant to us adults as well as kids.
Yes. Yes. That's about the third law, why after 6 p.m. digitizing activity must be minimized. I am not saying don't work, I am saying work wisely. There's another topic I do after this. While you're on Zoom or studying, how kids or adults can reduce the digitizing effect by doing certain hand movements. I will do it at the end of the 5 laws, if that is okay.
Yes, please.
Shall I get on to the 4th law?
Go on, please.
4th law is, I am telling kids, take a break after 25 minutes when you're looking at the pixel screen. Now, because school hours are stretching on the pixel screen, I have tried to tell schools that I am connected with, if a child is under the age of 12, do Zoom sessions only for 25 minutes and give a 10-minute break. That is the technically right thing. And if a child is over the age of 12, do the class session for 40 minutes and give a 20-minute break. Only problem is 20-minute break has its own problems, that the kid starts doing much faster stuff with games when they are given a break. So adult has to watch it, monitor it. You can't get into fisticuffs with this generation because they like a fight. So you must avoid fighting and coach them. You have to speak to them nicely. And if the child is already digitized, the Zoom sessions in school, now necessary, compulsory Zoom sessions because of study, Zoom or any other platform, will increase the digital problem. So you have to plead with the fellow and say, darling, because you are already on long sessions with on the screen, please reduce your other sessions on the screen, and there are other things the child can do without getting into fisticuffs with you to reduce the digital effect. So that is why I have said in this, take a break after 25 minutes of screen time. Never don't do more than 25 minutes fast things. I have also said reduce LED lights at home. Now this is a big problem. So at least where the child is studying, don't have a LED light, have a CFL warm light. Did my technical language, is it understood?
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Halogen,
normal halogen lights. We call it,
where the child is studying, and no LED lights in your bedroom or in your washroom, because when you get up from sleep, any bit of LED activity with the smart screen will obstruct your melatonin. That is absolutely a law. So in the night, don't get up and switch on the smartphone, because that WhatsApp can't wait. WhatsApp can wait. and all the juicy election news from USA can wait. Don't look at your WhatsApp till your sleep is over, or whatever, till your sleep is over. So in the fourth thing, reducing screen time and reducing LED blue light activity, I had lumped it together. If it's okay, I'll go to the fifth one.
Go ahead.
Law number 5, keep your attention span for 45 minutes lifelong. So know what you will do in any 1 hour. Have a full timetable. So if you occupy yourself for a full 1 hour, initiation, navigation, successful and conclusion, reward, motive, in your adult life, you don't get Alzheimer. If you are on the smart screen, multitasking, going from one social media to the next, you are asking for trouble. So do one thing at a time. Don't constantly go to your smartphone for this, that and the other. Have an interval of at least 20 minutes before you go look the screen. Taking a phone call is fine, but every time you are on WhatsApp also, pixels are playing on you. So this thing of keeping your 1 hour constructive, I'm not saying just do one thing. What I'm saying is don't do many things on the screen. You must have a timetable. Don't let time hang on you, because you will become a couch potato or a chair tomato and keep looking at the TV screen all the time if you don't have anything else to do. This is a sure way to get Alzheimer. So please don't do it. At this point,
you're suggesting focus on a task for 45 minutes.
That's right.
To conclusion.
That's right. Focus on a thank you for that clarity. Focus on a task for 45 minutes and think and do till you're satisfied. It may be sewing, knitting, crossword puzzles, Scrabble, not the screen, chess or whatever, not the screen, real handling things with your fingers, that spatial movement of moving, all that goes to keep your brain pliant, neuropliant and flexible. That's how you keep brain smart, brain bright and brain healthy. So the fifth point is about this keeping your attention span. And one more thing I need to add up is, if you can do handwriting 4 A4 pages in 2 languages. I don't know whether in Australia people are proficient in 2 languages. In Sri Lanka we are often proficient in 2 languages. That's how we do our cricket better than Australia. Yeah, that's not science. That's not science, that's prejudice. But if you can always write, your devotion notes, anything in 2 languages. Anyway, writing your language is what makes man brilliant. So keep writing, even in 1 language, keep writing. And if you are writing on a white sheet with black ballpoint or black color, that contrast is good for the brain. Please keep writing as much as possible. So that concludes my 5 laws.
That's awesome. That's so insightful. I think I think there's many hearers there writing notes, attentively. Can I just touch on one thing that you said, and I've heard you in a different lecture talk about this, and that's where you mentioned how kids learn, and they learn best by the writing, by physically doing, rather than on the digital screen. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So when a kid is small, we give them, and this is how we were raised up, we give them activities that the fingers move on rough surfaces. So this friction sense on timber building blocks, and if the child is on a bit of a rough floor, rough carpet, Sri Lanka has very good woven reed carpets, woven reed things. And Sri Lanka also has choir rope woven mats kind of things. This is a bit of promotion for Sri Lanka, in your country also you will have reed carpets. So when children are crawling or toddling with fingers and toes touching ground and roughness is how brain becomes brilliant. So when you put a screen before the child loses all his finger and toe and running around activity, which is a tragedy. That's what sets the child brain tracks, making connections and neurons for study, the spatial sense which doctors call proprioception. So we give them plasticine to work on. Earth clay is even better. Creole, because Creole is tough. Earth clay is tough. So when they have to do tough things with their fingers, that's how they become brain brilliant. And can you see moving fingers over clay looks like writing a language? Did you understand that? Moving fingers over clay looks like writing a language. So that's makes them brain bright. All that is stolen when they are put on the screen. And then mechanoset, construct, erector, all those, that's where dad comes in. His best career begins at home at 7 p.m. raising the future citizens. So dad, we have to tell you, or mom, your best career waits you at home at 7 p.m. Of course, your livelihood takes you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But your lifelong career of making the future citizens, your son and daughter, brain bright and heart warm, begins at 7 p.m. Happy harvest holy hour. Never miss it. That's your best time at home. So for a younger fellow, that's the time you sit down with him for the mechanoset. That's a brand name, you know what I mean, mechano, erector, construct, all those engineering stuff. So screwdriver goes clockwise, spanner goes anti-clockwise. That activity makes brain brilliant. So more child has of that, the better it is. So this is about, you were asking me about the early years, isn't it? Did I? Yes.
Indeed, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shall I get, yeah. Did you want to ask me something?
I was just going to say, just before we start running out of time, we do have two lovely mothers that I introduced before, and they're hanging here to ask you some questions.
Yes.
So if it's okay, I might actually go over to Suzanne.
May I just say one thing more? May I say one thing more? So when the child is on the screen and you want him to reduce his digitization, into his hands you can give him some tweezers to do this, and then look outside the screen, close his eyes. You don't have to follow the Zoom screen most of the time. Keep your eyes closed if possible. Munch crunchy fruit, crunchy vegetables like carrot, beetroot, whatever. Crunchy stuff munching. Chewing gum is a bad habit, but it also reduces digitization. Then for your floor, be barefooted if possible, and your toes and sole, S-O-L-E sole, scratching something, giving friction to your toes and sole. Did you understand? And then hang a cricket ball, and sort of talk, you know what we used to do for cricket practice to get our eye in. So if you keep a thing like that for the child who's a lot on the screen, and then break it up with garden time, whatever time, different things, play related, or gardening, or sand pit, all those things with friction reduces the digitizing effect. Yes.
Wow, great advice.
Hi, Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So informative. I'm just getting everything. I don't know where to start, but so I have a 2.5-year-old at home. So now you've said by the age of 3 they shouldn't have any screen time. So I'm gonna be honest. In isolation, we've been in isolation for eight or 9 months, I think. And my husband, I feel that our son has been watching too much TV. What advice would you now give parents to try and wean their child out of that? Because we can get busy and we can have the business of life as well. And I'm also pregnant, so there's always going to be something. But what advice would you give the parents moving forward as to lessen the TV? Trying to explain to your child that,
Yeah.
in a way that they'll understand, that they can't watch as much now that life is sort of going back to normal.
Yes, I will send some clips of our empathic motor center to on WhatsApp so that they can watch it and innovate whatever you can at home. Australian schools always have a yard to which the kids run before the bell rings. Ropes and grips and so on. Grips and ropes. That's the way to go. Anything they can do gripping and any activity like the mechano set. And then stringed instruments are very good if they are musical, or you can teach them string instruments. And the flute, they remove the digitizing effect. Then crunchy vegetables and crunchy fruit. You have to get them interested in board games and anything that they are playing. Cricket is an excellent thing. Playing football is also good, but cricket makes you brain smart and football makes you brawn smart. Yeah. So
my husband likes good iron, but my son's probably too young.
Even climbing trees is good. I don't know, what I mean by climbing trees, the short ones, or it has to do with how much friction and grip toes and fingers get. Did you get the principle?
Yeah, so using their hands obviously a lot more.
Yeah. Then crayons on black cartridge is a very good frictional activity. Crayons on black cartridge paper. So that writing with friction. Writing with pencil is also so using pencils and pastels for coloring kind of thing is a good brain developing activity.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Can I explain a slide that I feel I must explain? That is slide number 9. I have spoken about it. Slide number 9 has a brain, can you see? It has number 1, which is top-down regulation from the prefrontal cortex here. And I have already said executive, empathic, reflective, creative, initiation, navigation, and conclusion, reward. That is the decision-making process. We call it executive because it is you think and do. Not that the screen is doing it, the child thinks and does. And we call it empathic because the child likes it, he feels it's good for me, good for my future, my parents like it. Then the other track, number 2, goes through the amygdala, which is called bottom-up regulation, dyspathy, impulsive, repetitive, reflexive, reactive. It's a stress thrill mode into fight, fright and flight. Digital screen pushes the child there. We don't want to do that. Yes, you can. I have explained that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, you've actually answered my questions, but I'll go back on the couple.